Animosity is a strong word. It encompasses many things and affects all who experience it. It is something that many are not unfamiliar with. It is something that I am not unfamiliar with because of who I am and what I believe, my culture, my background. It was on my 13th birthday. It was a big thing at my middle school to decorate someone's locker for his or her birthday. Oftentimes, friends would cover whoever's locker it was with wrapping paper, ribbons, balloons, etc. When I got to school on my 13th birthday in 7th grade, I found my locker covered with celebratory decorations. I remember being very excited and thanking my friends who put the time and effort into decorating it for me. After that morning, I went about my day moving from class to class. Unfortunately, after one of my passing periods, the excitement was gone. Something had changed. Instead of returning to a decorated locker, I found the wrapping paper tainted with swastikas. My parents called the school immediately when I came home in tears. The school did nothing, and the perpetrator was never caught. I will never forget this day. It was sadly not my first experience with anti-Semitism, nor would it be my last. All of you are educated people. You are all in college at a distinct and diverse university. Thus, I have faith you are not naive enough to say that there is not racism, bigotry, anti-Semitism, or just blind, unprecedented hatred in the world. You know that there is. Thus, my purpose here today is not to tell you that there is. It is to inform you about what goes on and how, by the end of this, you can take action to help stop it. It seems rather appropriate that I am discussing anti-Semitism with you all on Yom HaShoah. For those of you who do not know, this is Holocaust Remembrance Day. Each year, Jews from around the world take time to reflect on this somber event and live by the motto, never again. It also seems rather appropriate because of another event, the recent shootings at the Jewish Community Center in Kansas City. This tragedy brings me to my next point, relevance. The event at the JCC turns the tables. This helps make anti-Semitism relevant to us all because of who the victims were. Two of the victims were Methodists, the other a Catholic. These people were not Jews, they were Christian. Thus, the relevance of animosity. Fraser Glenn Cross was a former KKK leader, according to CNN.com. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which monitors hate groups, announced Cross is the founder and former leader of the Carolina Knights of the KKK and the White Patriot Party as well. He is an example to us, an example of blind hatred towards anyone but himself. Dan Clevenger, the mayor of Marysville, Missouri, where Cross was from, resigned after his public support of the shooting, according to an article from the Associated Press and the Kansas City Star. The reasons he had behind the support are rather irrelevant. What is important to take away from this is that this man, a public figure and municipal leader, was chosen as a person of sound character and morals. He was expected to prove himself as a strong leader, something he clearly failed at. It is easy to forget that anti-Semitism, racism, and so many other things are truly prevalent, that these things can be secretly instilled in the morals of public leaders and public figures. And despite the progress that has been made with these issues within our nation and abroad, they are still there. And perhaps that's what's scariest of all, that even the educated, the leaders, the politicians, and public figures can be so corrupt, something that isn't always expected. The hate crimes we expect and the animosity we see always seem to be from people like Fraser Glenn Cross, never from the respected. His intentions were hate crimes toward Jews, but his clear disrespect for life brought KU, the Lawrence, Kansas City, and even national communities together. He brought attention towards one thing, animosity, and with that animosity he brought pain. Pain to innocent people, pain to their families, pain to a community, and pain to a nation, and pain to Jews. Not because Jews were murdered in this case, but because the event hit so close to home. And even in 2014, my people still have to live in fear. As some of you may have heard, there have been recent anti-Semitism events in Ukraine. Masked men distributed leaflets in eastern Ukraine in the city of Donetsk. They advised Jews to register with authorities or face deportation. When I heard this, the first thought that came to my mind was that history was repeating itself. According to the National Post from April 25th, Regardless of whether the leaflets were a dirty trick aimed at smearing pro-Russian separatists or the hateful handiwork of local fascists, they illustrate how the plight of Jews has become fuel for propaganda in a region with a long, bloody history of anti-Semitism. I couldn't agree more with this statement. Not only does it echo Nazi Germany, but it also reflects the centuries of singling out Jews in Eastern Europe. For how much this scared me living in the US, I could only imagine the fear in the hearts of the people in Ukraine and Russia. It made me reflect. If my grandmother hadn't escaped Poland in 1930, I would not be here. I would simply not exist. I considered myself so lucky every day that she escaped, for herself and for the future of family. Let us, as educated people of 2014, make this hatred stop. I am not naive. I do not believe that there will ever be world peace, that there will always be ignorance and hatred, and there unfortunately is nothing to do totally to prevent this. But you can help. From what I've told you, it should be clear that anti-Semitism does not just affect Jews. This is seen from the JCC shootings, as I said before, but also goes beyond this. Think of me. Think of other people you know who are your friends or loved ones. What if every day they lived their lives in fear, incapable of living fully because of a need to always be wary just because of who they are? Let us not repeat the 1930s and 1940s. Let us not turn a blind eye towards this anymore. Let us all live by the motto, never again, to preserve our humanity. Let us not forget that this is not just limited to one group of people. Jewish or not, we are all responsible. These events should be a call to action. It is a simple reminder that even when these are directed at a specific group, anyone can be a victim of hate crimes. So many questions arise from talking about hate crimes and animosity. Why does this exist? Why is there hatred? Who thinks that these actions, thoughts, and crimes are okay? I certainly have my opinions, but not all the answers. This is why I hope my speech today has inspired you to want to do something, and I will give you the resources of how to do so. First, there is www.fighthatred.com. This site will keep you up to date with monthly anti-Semitism acts and reports, along with statistics and graphs such as the population of people in the United States who are still considered anti-Semites. This is a popular and great resource to educate yourself. www.blogstandforisrael.com. This is another great resource that takes you through 4 simple steps of how to combat anti-Semitism. One progressive way is that the site urges people to combat this issue through social media, which in 2014 everyone is familiar with. ADL.org. This site is more of a political movement which urges you to contact senators or congressmen about the issue. It also has more information on how to prevent anti-Semitism, ways to combat it, and other resources for other anti-hate movements. To conclude, in the words of Anne Frank, despite it all, I believe that people are really good at heart. Thank you for listening to me today.